Hi, Ayonnah. Welcome and thank you for joining us for our STEM Champion series. And we are so honored that you get to be here today.
Well,
Uh,
thank you so much.
so, to get us started, I know you're a STEAM advocate and also an author. Could you tell us a little bit of what that's like, some of your responsibilities, and what your title really entails?
So being a student STEAM advocate, kind of what that entails is that pretty much whatever work I try to do, I'm doing it so that like my main mission is to encourage younger elementary school students to just show them early that STEAM and STEM jobs don't have a set personality, just sense of style. You see on television that like engineers or scientists are always dressed. They show them dressed like nerdy or just having like closed off personalities, but like my job is to continually show elementary school students that this is not the case and that STEAM and STEM does not have a specific hair type or like skin tone that is set to be doing the job, that like honestly anyone can be a person working in STEAM. If you're working in athletics, there are ways to tie that into a STEM job, and then just all of this to just make sure that ideas are diversified in the STEAM job. And then a lot of my responsibilities is on my Instagram account, I just make sure to always share stories and like studies and things that I find interesting that can help other students, whether it be people my grade or people in their professions, just showing off a lot more like STEM opportunities. And then another big responsibility that I gave myself, especially once COVID started hitting, was that I know like across my county and other counties, something called a STEM day like was had to be canceled, and I didn't want students to have to go through this. So what I did was I created and organized virtual STEM events for some elementary schools that I had the opportunity to do in some schools around my county. So that was really great. So I'm just constantly planning and thinking of other ways to make sure that STEAM and my mission is shown to as many students as possible.
Wow, that's so amazing. I'm so glad you could do that and provide for your community like that. That's amazing. So now could you talk about your journey through STEM, like how you first got introduced and from there on?
Okay, so how my journey first started was it all started when I visited the Uvar Hazy Air and Space Center, which is right down the road from my house now in third grade. And it was just seeing all those airplanes because I was always interested in travel. And of course, airplanes was my favorite way of traveling. And then I watched this certain IMAX movie, and it somehow combined nature, art, and airplanes into like one concept. And third grade me was completely hooked by that and all like the graphic design that went into that video. And I just never knew that there could be a job that combined so many interests of mine and things that didn't really seem like they could go together. So that's really how my STEM journey started for me.
Could you talk about a couple key influential people or organization that really helped you further your journey?
So I think it was really like middle school and like the beginning of high school that I was able to see a lot more engineers and people working in STEM that actually either looked like me or just had completely awesome personalities that I just wanted to show more people this is really what engineers can look like. And then some of their names is Danny Washington. She works in marine life and advocates for a plastic-free ocean. Tiffany Davis, she's an amazing aerospace engineer that was featured on Black Girls Rock premiere. And then there's also some civil engineers. One of the biggest inspirations was, of course, Sandy Magnus. She's an astronaut, a former astronaut. I got to interview for a school project in middle school, and I got to talk about diversifying STEM with her. And yeah, all those incredible women. And then some organizations is If Then. They're an amazing campaign, and they have this campaign called If Then She Can that just encourages more diversity in STEAM, and like their Instagram pages and everything just shows all these different roles women have in STEM and like how diverse it is.
So, being a STEAM advocate and an author, I'm sure you have countless number of experiences with different people. So, could you possibly share a positive one from your journey?
So I think a positive experience with STEM Thankfully, I have many, but I think my top two would either be like getting to speak at or being invited to elementary schools to talk about STEM in my book. Because I remember one time I went to a school and kids asked for my autograph, and they were actually like were so inspired, and I heard them actually like talking about my book, and just they never knew how STEM could be connected in so many ways, or like that they actually learned something new. So that's definitely like a positive STEM experience that I've gotten to encounter. And like I just never knew that I could have that kind of impact, because like publishing my book, I was like, of course, like a lot. Well, yeah, I was 15. I was 15 when I started, and I'm 17 now, and it was just so many risks that came with it. So it was definitely a positive experience for me because I never knew I could do that.
So, in your opinion, what is a challenge that the STEAM industry faces today?
So I think something that's challenging in the STEAM industry overall is just a lack of representation, because this can I did more research on this, especially as like the Black Lives Matter movement has
Mhm.
gained a lot of momentum, but just on the fact that science can actually be skewed and the statistics can be skewed to one side, to the point where it impacts minorities disproportionately, especially when it comes to access to healthcare and things like that. And even a study showed that it can go from actual like life threatening things to just how Apple watches are made. Like for example, Apple watches, like they used optical sensors, so for people with more melanated skin, it wasn't able to detect things like heart rates more accurately. And then of course Apple watches have that feature where if your heart rate drops below, they can contact officials. But this option cannot be really used for people, of course, more people of color and darker skin tones. And so this is how they switch to electrical sensors. And so I'm just thinking that there could be so many other ways how representation in STEAM really matters that we might have not even discovered yet.
So, now that we're in quarantine, what does a typical day look like for you?
So a typical day for me. So thankfully, I've been able to have like meetings such as these a lot more often. And then a typical day for me is, of course, still applying for scholarships. First thing I do in the morning is try to eat a healthy breakfast and try to work out, stay in shape, because my track season got delayed to December, so I still have a lot of work left to do. And then after that, try to apply to as many scholarships and do as much ACT and SAT prep as possible to set myself up well for college, because college admissions open next week. So super nervous, but excited for that. And then I also try to connect and network with others on Instagram. I try to like stay a lot more active. I kind of been falling off of that lately because I had to focus a little bit more on school lately, but I'm getting back to just like make sure liking, commenting on a lot of other scientists Instagram, see or try to learn something new from Instagram. I know it can be easy to like be sucked in social media from like funny videos, but I also try to like balance it out with like learning new things too, because like luckily Instagram does and TikTok has the power to actually teach you a lot too. And then I try to do also just work out with my friends, whether that be in the morning or sometimes we even do in the evening because of how hot it's been.
Yeah.
And I think that typically wraps up a day for me, just a lot of networking, yeah, preparing for school, things like that.
So, you're a rising senior in high school and you have your website, yayastars, and also being a STEAM advocate and an author and doing all these amazing things. How do you manage your time? Could you provide us some tips?
Okay, so my number one secret weapon is something called a bullet journal. And so I have this grid dotted journal where I'm able to write everything I have to do for the day. And I started adapting this new method where I do something called like the top three that I've seen a lot of other journals. It's like top three things I have to remember for that day or do for that day. So it's like, I know like in quarantine still, it's still so hard to stay motivated. So I just try to keep doing, try to do at least three things, and then I put everything else with just a little bullet point, just things I have to get done in general. And I think bullet journaling just helps me so much because like it gives me space to write out ideas and thoughts along with everything I have to do. So it's everything I need in one place.
So, can you think of a couple classes or clubs that really helped you on your STEAM journey and provided you with a lot of knowledge and support in general?
Okay. So I think it was my science class in seventh grade was when I got the opportunity. It was when called the Explorer Project. It was like an infamous project for Rocky Run students, and I chose aerospace engineering, and that's just when it got me. That class got me to see more of what entails aerospace engineering and like the difference between aerospace and aeronautics and a ton of things like that. So that really helped me stay on my journey in STEM and like continue to learn more about something I was really interested in. And then of course, I do, I'm involved in like track and student government
Mhm.
uh, and I'm officer for NHS or National Honor Society. And these all just help me stay organized or like keep up my organizational skills while at the same time helping student government helps me know like, teaches me something about planning events. And then I'm also a part of the Black Student Union, which helps me with activism. And I get to tie all this in to my STEM journey with advocating for more diversity in STEM and being able to take what I know from school and using all these planning and organizational tactics. And also I use my um, teachers are great connections to me to help me with projects, whether it's proofreading things for my book, which I've had my English teacher do for me, do for me before. And I'm so happy she was happy to do that. And then just teachers, other teachers, like such as my science teachers, knowing who to connect with in the county when I want to like try to introduce, for example, my virtual STEM conferences, and like my elementary school teachers still actively helps me out with connections. So it's so great that my STEM journey has made me be able to make connections and keep them even from elementary school.
Yeah. So could you talk about the inspiration behind your website, yayastars, and possibly the future of it?
Uh,
Like the
so the
future.
start of yayastars in general. So yeah, it started off as a website. The mission was very different from when I was 8 years old, I believe, when I started to now. So when I started when I was 8 years old, it was actually a travel review site for kids by kids. And back then, I just wanted to give kids a voice, kind of like our own version of Yelp. And I'm happy with it. Actually, was pretty successful and things like that. But as I grew up, the website kind of grew up with me, and then it kind of turned into a blog. So it'd be like just as school got more busy, I got more busy, and so it kind of turned into a blog where I would just talk about I would review things, and of course talk about like still write some things about my thoughts on STEM, such as that. And then now it's kind of turned into just like a main place for an Instagram about me page. I've had some like the video producer for a school teacher at our school, or like art teacher at our school. I had a talk with her about my website this year, and she like told me that now I can think of it as like my own kind of resume, which I think is very great advice for a lot of people. So now that's really what the role of my website is today, kind of like a resume showing off what I do, and of course a place where teachers and students and hopefully others can find my products, such as like my book or some free like downloadable coloring pages that I've actually seen some kids use, which was awesome. So yeah, now my website's just kind of my own branding page where I'm able to post products, and that'll promote STEAM.
Wow, starting that website as an 8-year-old is amazing, and now it's bloomed into something so much greater, and I love that. Thank you for doing that. So, where do you see yourself in about 10 years? It can be career oriented or just anything in general.
So in 10 years, I see myself hopefully graduate by college by then. And I think I want to go more, I haven't decided yet, but I think I want to go more in the direction of either having my own self-sufficient company by then, or at least working for a company at NASA or SpaceX, getting to deal with my passions of course, engineering along with graphic design and learning development, because those have become so interesting to me during quarantine as well. And I just hope that I'm having a job where I'm still able to advocate for students and more younger students to be involved in STEM. And hopefully I can see growth in yayastars by then. I hope I still have it by then, but I hope to see growth in the amount of kids that I'm able to inspire by then. And just whatever I'm doing, I'm hoping I'm happy and able to combine all my passions, and I don't have to just choose one thing.
So, what piece of advice would you give to anyone who's interested in STEAM?
Okay, so I think some great pieces of advice that whether they come from songs or my track coaches or my parents, some great pieces of advice I've heard is to just stop comparing yourself to others. A lot of people advocate for many different things and they do it through many different ways, whether it be dancing or art or making infographics. And I feel that people don't have to compare themselves if they aren't interested in doing hosting fundraisers, then they can teach others through art. There's just learning and development. It deals with the different methods in which to teach people, which I think is very important in activism. So of course, I hope students just remember that there's so many different ways to help people. And then another thing is that just always try your best. Just always try your best, and to if you really want to be happy, then you can always combine your passions. So you don't always have to just choose like one thing. If you're interested in sports, but you're also interested in, as I said before, engineering, there are ways to combine that. And I think they can always be like, try to be their happiest if they just try to combine these things. And they could even advocate for that. There's just so many different ways to advocate for that and different ways to stay within the STEM field and close the gap in numbers so that there's more equality and representation.
Thank you so much, Ayonnah, for taking the time out of your day to talk to us about your journey and experiences. It was so amazing and inspiring.
Yay. You're gonna
Okay,
have a
well,
great time virtually at college.
thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye.